Okay, we're ready to go. Good afternoon. We've got an agenda that's kind of packed today. We're going to try to move through it. There were some things that had come up, I guess, over the last week or weekend that we felt important enough to address and treated it as though it were a request for items on the agenda. I did not receive a direct request from councilmen to add some of these items other than, I think, Mr. Villard, is he here?
Yes.
I think Mr. Villard did indicate to me he had received either a request or a note in a story that I think Mr. Stephen Chark or somebody had put forward. Is that right, Mr. Villard, about the unusual nature of seeking legislation that the city has before the legislature. And so I'm going to unpack each bill that's before the legislature, and I'm going to commend to the public not only those facts so that it is clear that nothing untoward or unusual has occurred. In fact, quite to the contrary, it is in the usual course of business. And in fact, as I tend to try to champion and ensure that my staff does within best practice, as always. Look, I'll note, political season is going to come early, and there's, personal knowledge that some of this is just that. It's about those kind of things, running for office. I get that. I welcome it, and that's part of it. But we're not going to pretend that it's not about that. We're going to outline the facts, and someone else can try to put forth their argument that it's somehow unusual to seek legislation, which the charter itself designates solely to my authority. And should, because the employees subject to the promotion of the mayor through the classified and unclassified service that are subject to the executive office are that. So the council is actually prohibited from making rules that stop that. So it wouldn't be required that they approve it ahead of time. Reorganization is different, and we'll come to that in a minute. But let's go in order. So discussion of the FET series, very positive start. First of all, I want to thank Tanya Corley and her team, David Gill. Give them a hand. The FET was just extraordinary. We get caught up in numbers and everything. We'll talk a little bit, Colin, about police numbers too in a minute. But we're a society driven by the metric of numbers, and I not only get that, I'm guilty of it myself and believe strongly in it. You got to start somewhere, and usually applying a metric that's driven by numbers is if not always one of the best indicators, certainly up there in almost anything we do, percentages, et cetera. So sometimes we have a tough time doing a full count. This time, because we had armbands, we were able to do some more things. Obviously, there are folks that might be, you think you capture every vendor and everything else. We don't always. We used to have to do our hard counts by doing groupings from drones and other things years ago. So the armbands help us. We think that, looking preliminarily now, that somewhere between 10 to 13,000, the first count was 19,000. We think that's high. So somewhere between 10 and 13,000 people, different folks were here. And I think that's really a testament to a heck of a good FET. Thursday night was the weather held, and it was one of the larger, probably 750, 1,000 people maybe. That's a big dinner on the bricks for the first night for Thursday. That's going to be in the top 3 or 4 in the history of that. Saturday night was big. So it's hard for me to tell because we couldn't get as good of hard counts years ago as we do now. But just knowing the FETs that we did when we first started FET years ago, and thinking through what we saw then, how it was structured, and now, I would say that certainly this Saturday was probably in the top 3. It could be 1, it could be 2. I don't think it's first, but I think it's going to be in the top 3. Thursday night was a rainy night. That still was Friday night. Thursday night was dinner on the bricks, I think a record holder. Saturday, again, record. Friday night, we had rain, Confunction played. It'd have been a good night on a normal FET. If there had not been rain, this would have wiped out all the records for FET. So just again, congratulations. So if we're going by numbers and you exclude the rain that we had on Friday, this would have been probably the biggest one in the history of the FET series. So that is incredible. It's a testament to the hard work of you, all your partners, of the APD, the fire service, and everybody else who made it happen. The sheriff's office partnered with us, state police partnered with us. I think probation and parole even had some folks that were helping us. No serious incidents whatsoever. Another great hallmark of the FET series. I think there were 3 medical call-outs, none of which were too serious, I think, Sam reported today. I think there was one incident at the very end with some kids, was taken care of. It wasn't that big a deal, and maybe, I don't know if there was an arrest on the FET proper, maybe that at the end of Saturday night, one. So, and that was at the very end. So that's all stats that you probably don't need. It's a total positive event. People who were there will see that. The community was all out in force. You know, I think it's important to note, I know that somehow the word diverse and DEI, and in this universe of words we get into, there are people now getting on both sides of what I think is a word that is not only appreciated by me, but should be by anyone who understands language and the meaning of words, that things matter. But if you want to look at the diversity of the event, which we are charged to do, not only by the charter, it actually has a provision in it that our social services and all of those things be diverse, but just common sense. You want all of your taxpayers represented and participating as diverse an event as you could ever be at. Anybody who was there will tell you that, but you don't have to take anyone's word for it. Wait till all the drone footage comes out and you can look for yourself and see. You can also look at the vendors. So let's get into the economic side. Again, easy to see. You can, if you were there, you know that. Thursday night, if you were there on Dinner of the Bricks, you know that our commitment to who the vendors were was out in force, and that opportunity is being given. So don't have to take my word for it. You can go look at the evidence and let your eyes and ears show you. The real reason I put this on here, other than to give Tanya and the event itself praise, was that the enhanced security chief was just incredible. I cannot tell you how many people came up to me and really felt good about it. And there were just lots of comments out there on social media and otherwise that, oh my God, I'm going back again. I didn't realize this, or they'd hear it from a cousin or a friend or whatever, just how secure things were. So lots of new things to make that happen. But what people noted was not only was it secure, but it didn't feel like hard security. It felt integrated and soft in that sense, quote unquote, but it certainly wasn't, as we know, in terms of the amount of people. People felt good that every time they turned a corner, they'd see law enforcement out. People were aware that there were other technologies being deployed that did not bother people. They were actually very happy. Another way that I benchmark these things is through our partners in the music. And so, again, you will see total, what I would call just an extremely well done, diverse group of bands and music out there. And we were written by them, or at least the person putting it on, not me directly. Terrence Simeon, his comments about the community and other bands all said the same thing. Terrence Simeon is, of course, a double Grammy winner who's traveled the world. It's a pretty famous guy, and for him to say what he said was incredible. He took note. It was certainly not a cookie-cutter set of comments that he sent in to our folks. And all of the groups felt that way. We talked to the folks from the band Uncle Lucius and others, and they just were really blown away by the community. So I'm very proud of the community on a personal level, because what they were seeing from the stage is our community, and they were seeing the best of it. And I thought it was a wonderful event. Anybody who was there experienced that. I appreciate the president, Cynthia Perry's comments to the media, to KLB and others, and I appreciate KLB's story on that. It was very positive for the community, and I thought highlighted something beautiful and something that shows people being together, happy, celebrating, something wonderful. So Winterfest coming up, we'll be doing it again, different festival, but same kind of thing. I thought the Ferris wheel was a good new attraction, Tanya. Congrats on that. I did not see it move enough, I guess would be my only criticism. I wondered what was going on, but I'm assuming that the way it has some kind of cycle, and then people are getting on and off so often. I did not ride the Ferris wheel. I won't go for it, but perhaps I will next year.
I did,
Good.
3 times.
Okay, good. We had people riding. I didn't know if adults were getting on it. All right, so FET, great. Brownwater reporting. So I had a new person on staff tell me about their own experience this week. I will, just again to tell people, we are flushing hydrants big time right now. So you're going to see some stir up for sure. I can't tell you exactly what neighborhood I tried in staff this morning, but I had other things going on. I didn't have time to try to get down some kind of, here's where you would see it. I don't know that I could, Marcus, do that. I guess we could try to make it more neighborhood specific, and as we get Alex Connects in some of these new ways where it's not only taking information, but giving information, this thing that we're working on, we'll be able to do that. So at least people have a heads up. I think people are less scared if they understand it's being stirred up by the hydrants being flushed. So we are again graded by the Louisiana Department of Health on the quality of our water. That is not something that we grade or can change or do something to make what it's not. They do their own thing. They're aggressive about it. I think our department, I think they are, about ensuring it. We have not at all strayed from or tried to hide that people experience brown water. I've, on numerous occasions, indicated that I have. I understand that in the world of today, that somehow that's a negative by some people. Well, if the mayor, because the mayor says it, what does that mean? Well, what it means is no one's denying it at the highest in the executive level anyway, and I don't think any council persons are denying it. The question is whether brown water issues are aesthetic or unsafe. And we've unpacked that a little bit for you guys in past meetings. Anyone can go online. Here is the Department of Health's grade for this year. A. And it's a -0, so no points taken off in any category, including a +10 in the bonus out of a maximum of 10. So this is an objective study by the Louisiana Department of Health on the quality of water in the city of Alexandria, testing multiple areas frequently throughout a year. You know, it's something you can go look at on your own and do. You can look at the whole report. You can see all the categories of what it does. But you cannot get an A and you cannot get 100 out of 100 if there's any issues where the water is unsafe. That's not going to be allowed by them. As I announced in a few of these back, our view of the brown water issue is going to be an unrelenting approach to figuring out how we mitigate it. No one likes it. Not everyone sees these reports that I do. Very few people do. Not everybody will go see this. So some people will just hear about it and be concerned. Some people will see it obviously at home and be concerned. They won't know. We will do more, Marcus, to send things home, not only just the report card, but explanations. We have in the past explained aesthetic issues, meaning how something looks and feels versus it being dangerous. Those are all good, and those are all things to put in your quiver of arrows, and those are arrows you got to shoot to make sure the people in the public understand. But they're not enough. They're not enough. We've got to continue to find new ways to reach people at home. So with that, I'll take any public comments about that. I'll take any questions. Did I get any? Okay. All right. No, it's just supposed to be in advance of the meeting so that we can prepare and look at it. But if you have one, we'll take it down today and I'll answer at the next meeting. Brown water is going to stay on these for the next several that I do. It'll be on there again.
What is recommended if it's coming into the washing machine or bathtub? It's not so much consuming by drinking, but what is the concern with respect to hygiene, meaning washing your towels, your sheets, your clothes, and bathing?
Okay. If you're getting water that's infiltrating that, the first thing is you're going to need to contact a plumber and have it assessed how and what's happening. As we pointed out, brown water comes from both an individual customer side of the meter and potentially a city side of the meter. So that's got to be determined. I also announced that in an assistance plan to help people determine that, we'll be launching some things that we're working on. I announced them a few back to help citizens make that determination if they're challenged in the ability to do that. Not always easy to afford a plumber and get that done, and it will help us to chase that around. So the first thing I would do is talk to a plumber for sure. That would be the first thing to do right now. When we get our program going, we'll be able to add some help to that. I would also say for anybody, if it's about discoloration and things of that nature, you really do need to talk to a professional about your pipes. They can check, they can scope, they can do lots of things to determine if there's typically brown water is going to be a sort of a rust-driven problem because of the type of pipes we all had when older houses were installed plumbing way back. More modern PVC and other things, obviously you'll have less of a risk of that, but that has to be determined. And I don't have a percentage today. I can't look anyone in the eyes and say, I think this percentage is customer side and this is city side. I have a suspicion, I think I know the answer, but I don't have it exact. And certainly that, again, we're joking about metrics and numbers earlier, that can be hard, right? You could have it in a neighborhood be one percentage, but if we're out flushing real hard, hydrants and everything, and it gets up, well, that could change in that dynamic moment. That could change in that neighborhood if a lot of brown water were to come in or something, hate to say it, but quote unquote busted loose. So something, because you could have a clump of things that get stirred up and it rushed down a main and cause that. This is a consequence of aging infrastructure. So there's city infrastructure that's aging, and there's your homes that have aged personal infrastructure. It's a combination of those two things. Okay. Immediate question on brown water. Good? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to our next item on legislation, which I think is going to be the most important thing and what we really need to address today. Miss Augustine, right? Oh, Doctor, I'm sorry. She's got the issue at her house. Doctor, did you have, are you personally, well, okay. Do you have personal issues?
You know, with brown water,
Yes.
it was episodic and it was.
I don't want to get your business in public. Do you mind first?
No, I do not.
Okay, go ahead.
It happened twice and it did run clear and it ran clear yesterday and so forth, so
This week, though, you had the issue. Yesterday,
at the beginning of May, so we're within the 1st of May.
Marcus went, and Doc, I asked him that today because that was my first question, because I want to be able to tell people, okay, wait a minute, did you start flushing? When did we start? Sam said today that it's been this week, right? We're flushing right now.
Yes.
You can attest to that.
Oh, yeah. And when we get complaints, we'll go to that section and start. As soon as we get a complaint on Alice Connection, we'll go out there and start flushing.
And Dr. Bowles, I'm so sorry. I absolutely know who you are, and you know that I do. I got a little off because I don't want to put anyone else's business out. There's some strong issues with another citizen who's got issues, so I wanted. You said you were satisfied.
Well, it didn't run dirty today, but I have a video of what it looked like, and I was going to show whoever was questioning. It's pouring into the washing machine, and it's very clear what
Well, I can see that from here. So that's not good.
And I had to do 3 cycles, and the water never ran clear, so I just didn't do laundry that day. And when I check subsequently, it's not still that color, so.
So we don't have a full launch, Paul and crew, yet of how we're doing this Alex Connects thing that I announced a few weeks ago. I don't want to be improper, so I'm going to think about how to approach Dr. Bowles on this, because I know it'll happen if I say, I'm going to go, she's going to be first, that's beta test here, and we go, and she knows what that means, and we go do that, someone's going to say, you did it because she's a doctor. So,
I'll wait my turn.
well, but it may be the best, you may have exactly the set of circumstances, we should go beta first. So let's talk about that afterward, and if that's the case, let's use her right now, because it's fresh, and that may be exactly what helps us to chase this around. So I've talked about that before, chasing it around, because that's exactly what it is. We have to implement a program where we're more smartly flushing and figuring out where the issues are. But guys, the infrastructure in Alexandria, in some cases, is well past what its supposed useful life was. The real beauty of it all is because things were built so well back in the day, much for your time, young Colin, we're still living in it, and if I go study it, it's still in really good shape, for the most part. It still works. By today's standards, we wouldn't be in the useful life of a lot of things if it were judged by the same amount of years. So because Alexandria's infrastructure is so good, things are purring along past their useful life, but that ain't a good place to be, because one day that won't be the case, right? And water is essential. It is the most essential thing that we provide and deliver, and so we're going to have to really be on top of this. All right, moving on. Legislation regarding executive branch employees. So I want to make sure that I am properly, I wish more of the members had come today, but I think because of the holiday, it didn't get noticed where everybody had it on Friday or knew about it. So that's not a criticism, that's a product of the time last week and all the things going on. We were asked in item 3 on the Legal Affairs Committee that will be at 4 p.m. tomorrow to comment on House Bills 249, 247, 47, 33, and Senate Bill 51 of this session. I take any legislation that we do as a very serious role in the job. This is probably more than we normally do. We don't typically have a lot of bills. There is no question that you want, should, and I believe are required to have your council informed when there's legislation. Even if that legislation is strictly under the charter within the mayor's province, you want people to be informed. There's just no question about that. It's smart, it's polite, it's how you deal with other colleagues. Just, I say this a lot when I give First Amendment talks to people and in other areas, just because you can, i.e. you have the right, doesn't mean you should, at least i.e. that way, right? You have the right to do something, but maybe you should do it a certain way. Just because you can doesn't mean that's how you should, at least if you want to work with people. I mean, if your idea is to go fight and knuckle it up with people all the time, then I guess that's what you're going to get. So I want to make sure that I unpack this today, because there's a bunch of council persons here, so that they can help tomorrow. And I did open with, I know there's some politics in it too, but we're all big boys and girls and we can work through that. But unpacking it today helps us talk through it at the council meeting, which is not always, there's sometimes other forces and desires in the room, not the council members, persons there who have other agendas that want to disrupt. I don't want to disrupt. So you get 2 unpacks. You get tomorrow and you get today. Jim, as I understood the comment, this was an unusual way to do it. So I'm gonna start with that. It's not unusual at all. Let's just go through the charter items real quick, and then let's erase the board on that, because at some point, as I just said, who cares? It's about getting along and talking through it. Section 207 of the charter is a proscriptive item. Proscriptive, meaning a prohibition. Neither the council nor any of its members shall in any manner dictate the appointment, and I'll It has removal too, but just the appointment of employees whom the mayor or any of his subordinates are empowered to appoint. In the appointment process is the promotion process that's part of civil service. We know that as a matter of law. So when I'm talking about the police item we'll talk about and other things, those are solely within the province of the mayor. The council's power, what power does the council have? A lot. Money. Money is their power, the budget. But there are certain things that the framers of this Constitution of the city figured out. The mayor has the total executive power. I'm going to go through that. It's not a braggadocio thing. I'm not saying that's it is what it is. It's how it was structured for a reason, to balance out powers so that you have an active executive who pushes those things, and you have a council that has the power over that executive through the power of the purse and the power of policy making, et cetera. And that's where that balance comes in. So it sets up that appointments, promotions, and those persons that work for the mayor are solely subject to that, except for the money part. And it makes sense, guys. It's not a selfish thing. You would have 7 other people plus a mayor trying to decide who gets promoted at all times. That system would fail immediately, and that's why it's not set up that way. So here we see what is a prohibitive rule, which is our strongest way the city constitution weighs in. Not everything is proscriptive, a fancy way of saying prohibitive. This is a prohibitive law. The council shall not. So this is in the council section of organization under the charter. It actually is in their part, not mine. Now, mine goes on to be prescriptive, so it's telling you what to do now. One is don't do it. This is how you do it. Section 301, the first section of the mayor's part. The council is section 2, I'm section 3. The mayor shall be the chief executive of the city. All executive and administrative authority shall be exercised by and through the mayor, except as set forth in the charter. What does the last part mean? The council's employees and any of the other parts where it's out. We can go through those. Section 307, as chief executive, the mayor and only the mayor can appoint city employees and appointed administrative officers provided for by the charter. Civil service and personnel rules adopted pursuant to it. The civil service rules are not adopted by the City Council of Alexandria. The city civil service rules are adopted by state statute that provides for the board and the relationship to the executive separate from the council. The unclassified service, not in civil service, does have a role within the council. The mayor nominates, and if the city council does not confirm, that person doesn't go forward. So there's another check and balance. You should be, if you're thinking of your high school civics, looks a lot like the way the state of Louisiana is set up and even the federal Constitution. The Senate confirms, right? The president nominates. It's a similar system. And that's all that is. Right now, you can look at our state of affairs in the nation, and the president, whether you like him or not, whether you agree or not, he's trying to exercise that to the max. He is under a theory that he wants to appoint it all. There's even some talk about abolishing federal civil service rules, et cetera. That's not what I'm talking about. I believe in our civil service. I believe you protect against a spoil system where every new mayor could change people out wholesale. I'm not for that. Okay? So I want to make sure we start there. But I'm not for any other branch of government exercising what the people voted on to give the branch of government that I had either. So that's what the law says I can do. Remember I started out with First Amendment says, well, you can say whatever, but maybe you shouldn't. So I started out with, this is the authority I have, but I'm not going to exercise it to the extent I have it, because that's not how people get along with each other. That's not what my experience tells me from having been mayor before and trusting the people in this room, both in the room today and not in the room today, to be included in that. There are some positions I bring in front of the council and board confirmations that I'm not required to, okay? We do it all the time. Housing items and others, and I still bring them to you guys for a resolution because I just think that ownership should be shared and that we should all be on the same page. 401 says, without any ambiguity, so Section 2 is the council, Section 3 is the executive, Section 4 is the administration. So mostly executive, kind of a mix with council. All divisions, departments, offices, and agencies exclusively under the direction and supervision of the mayor unless given to the council. The salaries of directors of divisions and departments appointed by the mayor, again affirming who appoints it, are subject to approval by the council. So the council can't individually go in and say what someone gets paid. That comes in the budget. There's an overall approval. Again, that's the check and balance. The individualization occurs at the executive level, RK in the case of civil service, through their pay plans, et cetera. 411, why we're here today. The mayor shall have the right as chief executive to propose to the city council the creation, change, alteration, combination, or abolition of city departments, offices, or agencies, including those provided in the charter. That's A. B, 411 we're in. At the meeting of the council at which a reorganization plan is submitted, the council shall have 30 days to do it, and any interested citizens can be given the opportunity to be heard and talk about that reorganization. Section C. I know y'all are glazing over, but just, I got to set this up and then we're going to roll differently. I'll see Dr. Bowles over there like, no, I didn't come here for this. The city council within 60 days following the date of the public hearing shall either approve or disapprove. So Chuck's looking at me because he knows a lot of these rules. Many times when the council has the power over the purse or something else, its power is an up or down. It can't go in and individually second guess the executive. It has to go up or down, and that's the case here. All right. 704B, Trey, is of course the union item that only the mayor can negotiate with unions, and then the council is an up or down. They're not allowed in negotiation. So all of these bills that are coming up will be employment bills that have to do with me, except as I will otherwise note to you today. And I think everyone will understand where we are. We are doing this right. We didn't seek any declared official policy of the city that we were needing a resolution, and that's what we'd be required to do. If we were going to declare that this is the official policy of the city, if we wanted to try to change a rule for another organization, God knows I'm not going to say the one that comes to mind that's easy that the council makes all the appointments to, because it's not it. But that would be the kind of thing that I could not go propose legislation behind your back, even though all legislation is read 3 times in each house, noted in every newspaper. Everything that we do is not only on the public record, they're broadcasted live and over, just like what we do. Even though that's the case, it still wouldn't be right to do that. This is what the charter says about computer services. I want y'all to remember how we got here. In 403, 4 is again administration, right? Number 2, council. Number 3, mayor. Number 4, administration. 4-03, subsection 11. This is what it says about all of our IT. Remember, what year was our charter written, Trey? 81 it was adopted? 80?
No, 1977.
Okay. So in 77, our charter was adopted. How many times has it been amended since then? Only one time. All right. And it wasn't this. This is what it said about all of IT in the city of Alexandria. We're in 2025. In 1977, David, this is what it said. Managed city computer operations. There's no ellipses at the end of that. That's it. There's no ... That's it. Manage city computer operations. That's what I'm charged and David is charged to do. That clause houses the entirety of the IS systems of the city of Alexandria in the charter.
What else do you think?
So when I ran and put out our 100-day plan, if you look under legal and administration, administrative, finance, and legal, number 1, restructure IT departments, and I have a reserved, sensitive, separate, secure plan. That meant I'm running on this, I'm telling you about it, but obviously if we say everything that we knew from before and know now that has to be redone, that wouldn't be very smart. So one of the bills that we have up is to pull out of the classified service, civil service, have the right to appoint unclassified persons in there. And I would submit to all of you, Jim and everybody, that across this nation, in the state of Louisiana, elsewhere, this was organized under finance departments everywhere else too, and over you're seeing separate IT pulled out. We're late to the game on some of that. This is a norm. Why? Civil service constraints on pay and promotion are inconsistent entirely with hiring the level of people that I'm required for a city our size and with the apparatus we have, that includes a utility system, to do that. And y'all may say, well, just make changes to, love it if that was that easy. Lisa's going to have a letter to y'all tomorrow explaining this challenge. But this is a norm everywhere. When I testified in the House the other day, it was moved. Got you, Mayor. We all experienced it. People started telling their stories. When I came in addition to the hack, there were lots of challenges here. But there's a protection on this one. This one's going to be different from the police one, which I think is 100% only within our authority in the executive. This one may require total reorganization. That comes back in front of y'all. If I just hired one person, maybe you could do it. I could do that now. What you approved by ordinance already that we're operating under the ISSAP, our plan right now, we did, not unusually, on December 22nd, 2022. Anyone can go pull the record here and see that there was I think it was my first council meeting. If it wasn't the first, it was the second. It's the first and only executive session we called for. I know y'all have had some on settling legal cases. I didn't participate in those, but the only one I've called and had and participated in was that one, the first one and only one. And I went upstairs with you guys. I had a PowerPoint presentation. I walked you through what happened with the solar winds things, all of the different deals. We specifically discussed reorganization. We specifically discussed going to unclassified persons, and I don't want to name names, but one person who does a lot of IT, IS type stuff, who's on this council was like, I can't believe that we haven't allowed that already. So while I didn't seek a resolution, because we weren't seeking, if you recall, we even talked about that, to come out and have a vote and do things. One, we had to get a plan first, hire some outside folks contractually first, develop a plan and come back to you if we want to reorganize. We're not at that point yet. All I'm doing now is getting the legislature, because you have limited amount of bills and times to get in front of them, to give us the authority to mix classified and unclassified as we see fit later. Not only not unusual, just the smart and only way to do it. There's nothing nefarious here. It's not, it's so simple in that way. On your item, I gave you a list of things under ISSAP. Information System Security Assessment Project. All the stuff we talked about in that meeting, it's all on here again for you. And this is what's in all of our contractual work that we're doing. So I put it on your notice for this meeting, not hiding a thing. There it all is. And if you look at that plan, one of the items is under program objectives. I bolded and underlined it for you guys. I don't know if I did it on yours. Maybe it's just on mine. To identify changes to the oversight, management, and job duties of the employees operating the system. That's one of many. To conduct an independent assessment, remediation, and placement and better practice of the city's IS and IT system. To optimize the system against future threats. Guys, this is all about threats and vulnerabilities. And we're chock full of them. And you have a duty, as do I, to avoid and try to mitigate against any future threats. You can't zero them out. You can only mitigate. And part of that mitigation is having the best people we can afford with the most nimble nature to fire and hire as we can get and pay as we need. I'm not sure what plan I'm going to bring you at the end. I do know this, and we'll commit to it in writing if any of your members need it, that one, you're going to get the reorganization plan first. So there's your vote. Nothing happening. You don't need a resolution to the legislature. The legislature's just authorizing us to make a plan that civil service wouldn't otherwise do. Okay? So you don't need a resolution for that. What you need is Okay, bring the reorganization, we'll look at it then. You've already weighed into me in that executive session meeting that you wanted to do this, but it didn't require a vote yet. And when it does, we'll look at it together. If y'all recall, to be very specific, we even talked about with Gary, because of his background, that he might want to head up a committee that would be a confidential committee to look through some of these so that the council had a person ground floor with me on reorganization, looking at the threats. Lizzie, you recall that? I even remember this. I even made a joke and said, well, Gary, I guess I'm going to have to build us a skiff, which is a confidential room. It was a joke, but that's how detailed that meeting was. I remember all this like yesterday. And you might say, well, why has it been 2 years? Because under the ISSAP, we had private consultants, and still they're there making recommendations, looking at it. So it's not right to bring to you guys yet. This legislation simply allows us, if we so choose, to change it. There is no plan whatsoever in writing or conceptually to do anything to our folks now. But I can tell you there's this. They're not going to stay organized as they are. They may all stay on. We're not trying to get rid of anybody, but how we're currently configured, absolutely that isn't going to stay that way. Never was, wasn't going on December 22nd, 2022, and shouldn't be in place that way now. But we have enough consulting and other help right now to where this is making this work. But at some point, that has to change, okay? So, I hope that explains it, but I mean.
Which bill's this? Which bill's this?
Sorry. I needed to. Yeah, that's 33. This is being carried by Representative Johnson, who's Speaker Pro Tem. It was a simple change. Chuck will know it. Maybe some of you will remember this or not. 390 balances the charter unclassified appointments against not allowing a mayor to have an unlimited amount of mayoral assistants. It was a balance designed first by Ned, then we had to add a few. It's the one that says city attorneys are exempt, certain people can't be classified because they're like an attorney. Jonathan, he's got to have the right to terminate him or not because it's a client-based thing, a trust-based issue, a fiduciary issue. This just adds to that very short list we have of those people who are exempt, part-timers, et cetera, a classification, and it's very simple, I think, how we worded it. The current Act 390 has, these people are exempt from classified civil service. Elected officials, all of you and me, the 10 executive assistants to the mayor, my Act 390s that we go over every year at budget with you, one chief of staff or chief administrative officer. Remember, David is chief of staff, but he serves in his division role as head of public works, so he doesn't burn that one. Kay sits in that slot. All division heads except civil service personnel director, that's in this statute, but that's already in your charter, that's already the law, so that's not an addition. Any members of advisory boards and other unpaid bodies who are not city employees, already the law, but in this statute. Organizations and their employees employed on a contractual basis. That's all your architects, engineers, everybody else, that's already the law. Temporary and seasonal employees was already the law. City attorney and any assistants in the charter, we wanted it clarified. That's Jonathan's folks. City prosecutor and assistants was not explicitly in the law, was implicitly in the other, and it was good to put that in there, so that's one of the new ones. All employees appointed and directly working for the city council, straight out of the charter, in the statute. The one that I added since being mayor that first time was certain employees who are scheduled to work less than 32 hours a week. That was the part-timers, so that we could have part-timers not in the classified service, fully benefited, et cetera. Okay? All of that law stays the same. Now there's just one more class. It simply says this, and I took it from the charter. Proposed law remains the same. Present law adds to the unclassified any employees who provide city computer operations, to harken back to that crazy archaic version, and then I limit it and define it, comma, including direct services to the municipal information systems, that's what we call it, David, in the budget, using those terms so it goes directly to y'all's budget terms, comma, electronic security systems, comma, and other vulnerability and information technology designed to prevent disruption and compromise of sensitive information. That's the whole bill, what I just read. That's it, in its entirety. So it's limited to one set of things that are about your vulnerability and protection and security. No open door here. That's the whole bill. So that's one down. So I opened up with the authority to do it, but I'm closing with the forget whether I can do it that way. You guys do weigh in on this if we fully reorganize. That day will come, and it needs to come sooner rather than later. But there's nothing happening behind your back at all. In fact, we had a full meeting, Lizzie, as you remember, on exactly this upstairs. It was my first, I think it was the first council meeting since I came back. So, the ISSAP is a public record contract, so the contract that does all this and sets up the reorganization, that's public record, and that's published. It was approved by an ordinance already by you. That's a public record. You already voted on it. A reorganization has to come back before the council, number 2. And 3, it's only about protecting vulnerabilities, and hopefully in tandem with the only other thing we're talking about is we want to make sure that the utility vulnerabilities are fully protected, which is the scariest part of it. We have not had someone do a lot yet with it, but that would be your most vulnerable problem. If somebody were going to do harm to this city, that would be the way you'd want to do it. Infiltrate those systems.
Like Spain,
What's that?
like Spain recently?
I mean, this wouldn't be an ITIS version, but that would be the scariest one, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be physical. We've already had things happen before. Someone just take a shot at a tower or whatever, a water tower. I mean, those things have happened. We have to be able to provide for methods of security that are technology driven to see, hear, bounce off sound on that, figure out and vector where something is, do all that. And that's not something you would publish as a plan to the public, else it not have any meaning. So those things have to be considered separately from a normal public record. The contracts with whom you do it, the amounts of money, all of that's a public record. But how we handle our utilities, resource planning while we're in process, you're going to hear me say that a lot, while we're in process, that cannot be. Should we publish our resource plan when we're done? Some people would say no. Yes, we should. The Public Service Commission makes private guys do it. We should do that. Lafayette publishes all that. Right now, we do. I don't ever want to change that. But while you're negotiating, Chuck, for RFPs and other things to get information, should that be a public record while in process? I mean, no. Someone can hedge against you. Someone can bet against what you're doing. Someone can go buy the gas piece that you want to try to get. Someone can, we'll do 4 of that because we're 4 times the size. That makes no sense. So your competitive processes are already an exception under the public records law. We want to make sure that we're an exception too, just in the utility, just in its enterprise form. People's bills, those aren't public records for private utilities. They are for us. That's not going to change. I have a different view on that. I don't like that people's bills are public. I don't like that people say that the city cut me off when I know it's not for what they're saying, which is daily, but I still don't want to go put their business out on Front Street, as we might say. That's not the design. But right now you can. So anyone who wants to look at a bill, KLB did a story. If someone were to go pull the bills of the people in the story, their billing history, you're going to have your answer. KLB chose not to do that. I think they shouldn't have run the story until they do that. But I also don't like the idea of doing that because so it's a kind of a catch-22. If they're going to run the story but not get the facts, then we get a little beat up by that. I would say don't run the story till you confirm the facts. KLB might answer that, guys, and this is hard to hear when you're in the public life role, but they may say doesn't change that someone said it to us. So we can run a story just by what someone says because that's what they're saying. And again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay? That's for y'all to think through. So that is a council policy. I don't know how to answer that for you guys, but right now, Every utility bill history is a public record. So every time, I don't want to pick on KLB, every time anyone in the media runs a story or you get a call at home about someone, you can pull that history and you can get your answer. And you guys do that. And that's why it doesn't hit that mic anymore, because you're able to see. What I read in the story, both in the electronic version and the one that aired on news, just it's not close to the reality of what happened. It's in another dimension in terms of realities, and it easily could have been avoided. So, I want to do better by that. I've offered to try. I don't know how. KLB may say, well, we reached out for a comment. Well, okay, if they reached out for a comment about a story no one knows. Michael's not there. Michael's right here. If the outreach is simply this, we're going to run a story about two people that say they were cut off for pennies. What's your comment? That isn't a fair question. We need to who? Well, we don't want to tell you who because we don't want them to be punished. They're not. Okay. It's a public record. Get the information, get the people, and let's run. Now, if they said, here's the people and here's what they're going to say, I'm not aware of that, then that I would change my mind, and I'd say that's on us. But I don't know that because I didn't read the email. But everybody sees the difference? Why am I bringing this up? Because it's constant. It in and of itself is a vulnerability to our system. We are constantly attacking a utility that is economically the best in the region. I don't understand why we're doing that to the utility. It hurts it. It hurts its credibility as a utility. I talked to someone this week and said, but y'all's bills are so high. Compared to what? Compared to whom? I know, my people, y'all are sick of hearing this. Y'all looking at me like, move on. But we're making a record for others, and I want to make sure. I'm challenging everyone. Come forward and show us we're wrong. Bring up your bill that was cut off for 1 or 2 pennies. And we'll show that usually the case is, it may have been in one cycle off by that, but if you owe $1,000 in back due failed payment plans, that's a problem. Can I ask y'all this? How many utility companies do payment plans?
0. Besides us.
Is the city of Alexandria, as a constitutionally organized municipal corporation, free to give away services to some citizens and not others? Yes or no? Are we constitutionally prohibited from doing so?
Correct.
Okay, so the IT bill, IS bills, I've explained exhaustively to you. The other bills we were asked to comment on was number 47, and that is the method of appointing and filling vacancies in the promotional class. That is solely within the appointment authority of the mayor under our charter. That is about adding competition to promotions in the police department. Nowhere in the civil service of the city of Alexandria is it not competitive except that. So our regular Alexandria City civil service is by merit. The police department is solely by seniority, which means time in the job. Look, I challenge anybody. This is a way of getting better police. Find anywhere in the private or public sector where that is the case. The military or anywhere else. I polled it when I ran. I used a scientific poll, but I won't cite my own. We just did it again, not public, private funds. You tell me if these are fair questions. In your opinion, what should be the most important factor in promoting police? Strong job performance and leadership, positive community engagement and trust, length of service, parentheses, seniority, close parenthesis, or lastly, a balance of merit and seniority. Do you think in that question, length of service did the highest amount? You might think that. Where do you think it ranked in those boxes?
Last.
By last, where would you put, do you think its percent was double digits or single?
Single.
Was that a fair question? Did that load the question one way or another? So if someone else said, well, I want to ask it our way. Our way is, do you think it's fair to let the mayor and them appoint when we know they're going to mess us over and this and that, and then because we need seniority to protect it? That would not be a good way to do it. That's a straight, what's called a clean question. Number two, should officers demonstrating strong performance, integrity, and leadership be promoted even if they have, yes, less seniority? Only three choices. Yes, promote based on merit regardless of seniority. No, seniority should be the main factor. Or thirdly, partly merit, partly seniority should be considered. Again, fair question. Number three, if you had to choose just one, so now we're going to let's lock it down and see where people are. Giving you those two as baselines, let's lock it down. If you had to choose just one, should police promotions in your city be based primarily on merit or primarily on seniority, length of service? And you were given those two choices, exactly the same. Box one, merit-based, parenthesis, performance. Box two, seniority-based, parenthesis, time served. Last box, not sure. I think the not sure beats seniority-based. Guys, it's not close. This isn't her. I have talked to our officers openly, so it's total transparency. I went and sat with the chief. I put up a chair in the middle of the room. I don't have people. I've answered every question. I ran on, we're going to do this. Multiple times I've been at briefings, Jim, and said the joke. And I know they're not going to like this, but we're moving toward competitive classing. That's the term I always called it, right or wrong. I always called it competitive classing. So y'all have heard me say it. You've heard me say it individually to you. You heard me say it on the campaign trail. And I've said it in my briefings. And I've said it a few times during budget hearings. There's been no chance for any, and it's the definition of the PS plus our public safety plan that we adopted after I got through campaigning and made it part of our adopted. It's in that too. That while we know we have to protect against the spoil system, we've got to move people to competition. Communities of color, 100%, not only would they be for this, they are for this. Is it a way for communities of color to advance within the department and not be locked out of the traditional seniority only in a department that was more white than black? What do you think? Competition's good for us. Competition is in every aspect of our lives. It should be no less in the most frequently debated on both sides, if you will, if not three sides, thing of all, which is public safety, constitutional policing. How could this be the last place you would germinate that important growth, seed of growth? Why would this be the last place? It should be the first place. I've been pushing for it for years, and I finally have a group of guys who are halfway there with me. They're still uncertain. They're still scared to death. You know what they're scared of? Okay, fine. Even if we buy, you and the chief are going to do right by us, the next guy won't. That's really where they're stuck today. We had them vote on it. I'm not going to betray them. We had more support than we did, but the people who are against it are against it, and they're going to go to the legislature. They're going to be the loudest. I get that. And I think it'll prevail. I think the data shows it. Representative DeWitt's carried it. He's proud to carry it. He's a civil service guy. He's got a son in civil service. He's no enemy of this. He grew up in it as a state employee, right? This time, this is good for our community. It's good for us. So, Jim, my pledge to you guys again is this. I know that's their concern. It's a clean bill right now. Hammond's adopted. Everybody's adopted this. We're not the first to try to do it. All over the country, it's already the law of the land. It's the law of the land in the military and everywhere else. I think I'm keenly able and aware and will be able to write in some things to make sure no spoil system can undo it, because that is not our aim. Right now, the way it's structured is I'm not the appointing authority. It goes in front of a committee. There's all kind of build-ins that loop it back out. If they can't agree, comes back to seniority. I mean, this is a very thoughtful process we're doing to protect these guys. And I know some of them could be hearing this or will, and they'll come to you and say they don't want it and this and that, and they're gonna tell you, we don't know what it could mean. They're gonna tell you every excuse in the world because it represents the unknown and it represents a change. But just ask yourselves a simple question. You know what the people feel about it, the people that we serve. And just ask yourself in your heart, is this anywhere right to not have competitive promotion in something as important as that? So the guy with the longest tooth or girl only gets promoted. That is no way to do business. No way. So that's that bill. Number 247, we were asked, I don't, 247 is a bill by Representative Schenover. It has to do with East Baton Rouge abandoned property. So I'm not going to comment on that one. Y'all are free to read it. If that was meant on purpose and not a mistake, and it may be Malcolm or somebody put it on and say, they're doing this, why don't y'all? Then I'm going to study that some more, but because I think it's about expropriation. That sounds like something Malcolm is very keen about. So it may be he wants to talk about why aren't we doing this bill? In fairness to Malcolm, and that could, Mr. Lawbray, in fairness, that could be it. Anyway, I don't know that it makes it any easier to expropriate, but I know it does this. It defines abandoned property, vacant or not lawfully occupied, et cetera, a little differently. And it moves some time frames up, Trey, so it may definitely be something to consider. So by tomorrow, we'll have studied this and have more of an opinion. We first thought it was just a mistake because it's 247 and there's a 47 on it, but I don't know that looking at it. I think this could be, we want to report on why we're not pushing this. And maybe Mrs. Baby wants us to amend on with somebody, I don't know. So we'll look at that tomorrow. I don't know on that one. Bill 249, we were asked to comment on by Representative DeWitt. That is for the city of Alexandria for city court. I mean, it's a city court bill. It's not my bill. It's not the city's bill. It's the city court's bill. We'll be prepared, Kay, to comment if we need to. I don't know who put them on. I'm assuming Mr. Lawberdane put all these on, but that's an assumption. It could be another member. I don't know that. I'll try to answer any questions he has. Jonathan, the background of this to give all of you is there's a Fifth Circuit decision, as I understand it, from the U.S. Fifth Circuit that says if your city court funds that run your city court are generated wholly or mostly from your criminal fines, it's a due process issue because you would have an incentive as the court to fine defendants in the criminal sense more because that's your means of income. And it is my understanding that Judge Starling, I think rightly, smartly, and should flip that, and I think he did already flip that. And this is we flipped it a few years ago where Judge Starling would be funded by the civil funds that are generated, civil filings, and the city would take the criminal. That way the judge who decides those things has no incentive either way. So ours comes from one. It used to be, I don't know if it was the other way or just mixed, or maybe the other way. Yeah, so that definitely needed a switch. So I think his bill is right. And it was 2 years for us to study and figure out anything about it. And the 2 years is up, Mr. Goins, and I think, is that right? And this is just the removal of the sunset. So if we didn't make it permanent law, it would have sunsetted out, caused a due process issue for him or a constitutional issue for him. And it was the right thing to do. There's some other parts in here about how he funds the court that I'm not going to be the guy. I don't have the depth to talk about. I don't know. But if it's in any way derived from he's funding himself more, it doesn't hurt the city, and he's using those, to me, that's not my business, but it may be one of the council members' business. So somebody on the council may want to weigh in differently. Jonathan, I haven't heard that from any members, so I don't know. This is what I think the bill means, and Anybody can go online and get it, and you'll see proposed law, present and proposed law, and you can see that. The part I know is the revocation of the sunset, which we're for. I wouldn't not comply with the U.S. Fifth Circuit for two reasons. One, because I don't think courts should run themselves. I think that is an incentive that could be questioned, and it makes sense to me. And number two, you're going to pack your toothbrush and your little dock kit if you start messing with the U.S. Fifth Circuit. You're going to have to go spend some time in the pokey, so I wouldn't want to do that either. All right. The last bill was the Senate Bill 51, I've already explained, in relation to the ITIS current law as an exception to the public records. LARS 44 3.3 is the one we're affecting. I think 3.2, Trey, or the one right before that is on proprietary and other types of information. So there's already an exception. This is the Public Power Authority law. Right now, the present law says that if you're a public power authority, which is a political subdivision of the state created by the governing authority of a municipality, then your proprietary competitive information, which I talked about with you guys earlier, resource planning, all that, is potentially an exception. You still have to prove it when you get a request, et cetera. Makes total sense. Applies to LIPA and others. You think it applied to Alexandria, listen to it again. Political power authority is a political subdivision of the state created by the governing authority of a municipality, and it has that exception. But the way we all read that is, that's a political subdivision of the state. The city is a political subdivision of the state created by the governing authority of the municipality. See, it doesn't work for us. You can clearly see the intent is for public power authorities, but it would not include us because unlike LIPA, we run our public power authority as an enterprise and proprietary fund of the city. Very simple what it does, Mr. Ballard. I know I keep picking on you. It simply adds the city of Alexandria to the definition of public power authority. It doesn't change another thing in the law. That's it. I'm writing a policy right now to make it clear that regardless of any freedoms it gives for our friends in the media and otherwise, our policy will be, if it's not in process, that's going to be our written policy, it's a public record. All we want to prohibit is if we're in a resource plan, Trey, where we're negotiating and have an RFP issued and we're grading it, someone can't very smartly go, I'm going to ask for a public record. I want to see all of what everybody's saying right now and go hedge against us, which you can do right now. Not to any other utilities, but to us. That makes no sense. That's a competitive disadvantage unintentionally created by the law because we're clearly intended to be included. But I'm going to go a step further to be transparent and show my commitment and right. I want to make it clear that when we're not in process on any of these, it's a public record. The only thing I would commit to y'all's further thoughts is, where do you want to ever be on that collection side? Look, it helps us if someone makes up a story about their utility bill to then show it's not true. But does it really help? I mean, people are hurting. They're not, everybody has different motivations for it, but it is what it is. I mean, is it our job to go around dinging people, calling and going, oh, here's their record, they're lying to you? I mean, I would try to get Colin them to stop doing that story without looking first, and if it's irrelevant, don't do the story. If he's going to do the story, look at it. I don't mean to pick on you, Colin, specifically. I kind of do, but it is what it is. I think it's just ought to not be done. You know, of course, if someone walks in and says, Mr. Vidros, look at this and shows him everything, then to me, what he should do is then go do this is what they have. What did y'all really do? And unfortunately, these cases usually 99.9% of the time, it's going to be past due. We're not high. We give you that information. We show you where we rank. We're running a good utility. What we've done for 2 years is clean up a big problem, and we know why. We talked about it in executive session, and we've talked about it in open session. Three distinct decisions were made that put us where we are. We fixed them. I'm the cheerleader. I got to get y'all to quit beating up the utility because it's your best economic weapon right now. We ought to be using that to our advantage. It's your best weapon against blight, salary and attrition issues with police and all my other divisions. That thing can be used to help us do that. If it goes away, citizens will pay more than they pay now, and every light bulb and everything out there, you got to pay to change that in a different way. It's going to be a huge cost. You'd also lose all of the, if you will, the forced manpower and other things it brings to bear to fix things quickly in storms. Now you're in the queue for that investor-owned utility behind everybody else in their service area. You're in the queue. Right now, you go off, I challenge you to tell me how you think we do during storms versus anyone else. You would lose all of that. That's what I mean by a weapon. Not a weapon against the people, a weapon for the people. Okay? So that's what that bill does. So I've gone over the bills, I think. Is that all of them? Yep. They're all good bills. They're all simple bills. And they're all not behind your back or doing anything that you haven't already been totally briefed on before and after today, exhaustively so, to the point where all of you are glazing over. Even after I told you these would be short. But you got a big meeting tomorrow, and what I try to do is head it off at the pass, as they say, and that's what this is. This is giving you the ammunition, any members here today, and my media partners, to know that if there's different motives for tomorrow, then everyone can see. This is what it really is about and what we're doing. Mr. Goins will be, we're all ready to address anything, but this is what we're doing. We've left no stone unturned for you. If there's a different motive, I don't know. Someone tells you, no, y'all have to have a resolution for all these, I would say, no, you don't. And if the council passes a rule, and it has rules about when those occur, the council can pass an ordinance all day long. If that ordinance violates the charter, which one wins? The legislature passes laws every day, Gay, that are unconstitutional. And they're on the books until someone challenges them. I'm not going to challenge y'all on it. I'm telling you up front. This is what we're doing. It's not a secret. And I want to do better always. But I felt like we had. We explained the ITIS stuff in detail. We've been moving through this at a year and a half. It's overdue. We need to really get this behind us. Okay. I had made a list of every time I brought it up at every meeting, so I'm not going to take y'all through that, but it's been pretty exhaustive. Dr. Bowles, we're going to maybe make you the beta, so we covered that. Restore grants. Grants paid to customers. 642 total grants paid. Never did anyone ever owe a grant back. Like, this is just this crazy stuff that circulates. I mean, I've challenged them. I mean, if someone got a grant illegally, would they owe it back? Like they lied in their application? Sure they would, but I don't even think we did that, and that happened. Right? Maybe the right person in here to answer that, but I don't know of any grants so there's no policy whereby you owed your grant back. If someone defrauded the city, I guess they could have to give it back. And so I'll leave room for that. If you defraud the city, you might not get a gift. Restore installment plans created for. So here's how it works, right? Think of Restore, you got two things happening. Someone owes a back amount of money. Thousands of dollars. Remember a while ago I said there were 3 distinct decisions made by the previous administration that led to people not paying a utility bill. Who wants to throw out the number? For how many years? 3. Okay, 3. I was going to say it's closer to 4. But if you make an upset limit on a cutoff where no one can ever be cut off because you think you're doing a favor for people, you're not. You know who gets hurt the worst in that? The person on fixed income who really, because someone has to then later go, well, look, now there's all this back due money owed, and they go, but you never billed me. How would I ever do that? So shame on me, because it's me. I came up with Restore the summer before I ran and said, that isn't fair. And I know what Article 7 says. I know what the prohibited constitutional donation rule is. We just talked about it earlier together. Everyone in the room knows it, including Dr. Bowles. We all know it. But I said there's an exception to that rule. if the collection process could destroy the city, if you had to collect every dollar the city was owed, and that destroyed the utility and bankrupted a bunch of citizens who then can never be ratepayers again, how smart would that be? So there's a balancing test, Trey, that the law allows us to do, just like in a compromise situation. Yes, you're prohibited from giving away public things, but if not working out cooperation with the citizens on it is a higher cost than that collection process, you have to weigh all of that. And so what we did is say, here's what we're going to do. You're going to use national standards, LIHEAP, LIHEAP. We're going to use their standards, which has to do with income, people in the household, et cetera. And if you qualify, part of what your back due amount goes away in a grant. No one ever had to pay that back. I don't know where people came up with the loan stuff, guys. I've been over this 100 times. Someone used it once and then it carries. There's no loan to it. Grant, it goes away. Some of what you owe didn't go away. That got amortized out over time so you could pay it off. Some people said, I didn't ask for that. Okay, then pay it all off. You didn't ask for it, but you couldn't pay it off, or you would have. So it just got grouped forward. You didn't have to accept that. You could have just not taken the payment plan and paid your whole balance that's back due. This was a good thing. Our city wins a national award anywhere but here. And I suspect I know why, because we're a public utility and you have elected people over the utility and people know they can go to you and hit you. And people are hurt, by the way. And they've been hard hit by the economy. And they were hard hit during 2020, during COVID. And when the city wasn't billing property during that whole time and not sending them bills and letting them get lulled into this and not know, it'd have been the height of unfairness to go, gotcha. So we didn't do that. But there was no way to not collect it all. Guys, when I walked in, we were over 20 million in the red. When I left being mayor, we were way in the black. I have a job to do, so do all of you. I was so proud. I thought the Restore was going to, I thought it was going to be this is going to be unbelievable. And it was for a minute until someone recharacterized it. It's been the only painful thing since coming back I've had, and it's nothing. It's nothing compared to what people went through who are struggling. But it was the only thing that I just could not believe how this could go negative. I saw it happen, and I could see it go, yep, I see that's smart, do it that way. But there were players using people in this, and that was what was unfortunate. The person on fixed income, they don't care. They don't know they're being used. They just know it hurts. Someone tells them they're cheating you, that's all you need to hear. We're going to keep unpacking that for people. Keep sending out information. Keep doing it better. But those are your Restore numbers. Total installment plans created were 2,001. 642 grants occurred. There was a lot of money that went out in Restore for people. A lot. We used to get asked, well, y'all said y'all budget up to $3 billion. What happened to the rest? Council members, what happens when something doesn't get expended? It goes back for the next year. It doesn't go anywhere. It's in an account. But if you don't apply, you can't get it. People were telling people on fixed income, don't apply for Restore. Shame on everyone that did that. Everybody should have applied and seen if they could get it. Kay and I used to talk. I always felt it was unfair. Wendy and I paid during that whole time when the city wasn't billing. We were sitting at home, but I'm a former mayor and I know better. I knew the piper would come one day. And so we would pay hundreds a month. But, I'm not going to say how much because people, you could afford to do that. Yeah, I could. And I'm thankful I could. But I did it the whole time so that I would never get behind. But I knew it was not fair to say, because I knew to do that, everyone had to know to do it. Some of you would say, yeah, everybody, those electrons are being used. You got to pay something. Maybe it's $50, whatever. But it was a struggling time after COVID. People are at home. They're not getting a bill. I guess what people do is what people do, right? I'm not getting a bill. There's nothing to pay. You can hear it. That's on them, not on me. I get that. And so that's why we designed that program. Okay? All right. Council questions on any of the vulnerability or any of the issues we have brought up today? Thank y'all for sticking through a long one. Any questions from y'all? Nothing? How can I best prepare for tomorrow to make this helpful? What do we need? Does anyone know what the concern is, or is it just what I've said? That somebody feels that we were behind your back? I think it's an outside force that's doing it. I think I know who, how, and what, but I think it just was confirmed from the legislature to me. But, I mean, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You know, I always have to look for ways to do better by you. And, you know, even if it's a mixed bag, I gotta always do better. And we're committed to do that for you guys. I hope this unpacks it for you. I truly think that all of these bills are not only good bills, they're necessary. And if you don't act on the ITIS stuff, you guys are cuckoo. Because you know what we're facing. You know what we're facing. We already been through it.
Well, yeah,
We got a proof model behind us, okay? All right, thank you, God bless, thank you.